With me now, former FBI Special Agent John Iannarelli. John, it's great to have you with us on the program tonight. Thank you for being here. Really interesting to me because the Durham report comes out and confirms what the critics had been saying all along and what the evidence was pointing to. Basically, that the FBI has lost credibility for how it handled this. And as AG Barr said, there were two standards, right? One for Trump and one for Hillary Clinton. But now the Democrats are actually asking for even more money to fund the FBI. What say you?
Well, Jackie, let's keep in perspective here. There's 35,000 employees in the FBI. 12,000 of those are agents. The men and women of the FBI want to do the right thing. We're looking at a situation where a handful of higher-ups clearly did the wrong thing, but that should not discredit the entire FBI.
I hear you on that. I want you to listen to this soundbite from one of the FBI whistleblowers. He was on with Jesse Waters last night. We'll listen to it, and then we'll react on the other side.
And how do you feel, and how does your family feel after you guys have gone through all of this?
We're just trying to do the right thing for this nation, and if that means even becoming homeless at the hands of the FBI, then we're willing to do that. We're willing to sacrifice that.
So I hear you, John, and there are a lot of good agents within the agency. But having said that, if you listen to any of the hearing yesterday, what blew me away right off the bat, Democrats were not even acknowledging that these were valid whistleblowers. They didn't want to hear what they had to say. They didn't want to acknowledge that they existed. It was really a frustrating back and forth led by Jim Jordan.
You're right. And there's been a number of people beyond the three that came out in the hearing yesterday that have voiced their concerns about higher leadership in the FBI. We certainly need to take that into account. I think Director Wray is trying to make some changes, but there needs to be a lot more done. The other issue is what's the check and balance for the future so this never happens again?
Right. And it's interesting because it's not just limited necessarily to the FBI, although the Durham probe was looking at those specific issues from 2016. But we're dealing with the situation with Hunter Biden as well, where we don't see our federal agencies taking any action, despite the fact that, you know, the laptop was proved credible. And there are a lot of questions about who the big guy is and what kind of business dealings Joe and Hunter had overseas that are, you know, impacting the interests of Americans with respect to national security right now. So if Americans can't have confidence in federal agencies like the FBI, like the DOJ, to me, it means our system's breaking down.
You're right. I do see a breakdown. And it's important to remember everything the FBI does is at the direction of DOJ. They need to be agnostic when it comes to this and not play politics. Hopefully, we're going to see some difference in the future, maybe a change of leadership.
Where do we go from here? Because even AG Barr has acknowledged the fact that at the high levels, as you mentioned, many of the people responsible for what went on and that were cited in the Durham report are no longer with the agency. But that doesn't really tackle, even though those specific people aren't there, that doesn't really tackle the larger problem of possible pockets of corruption.
The problem is one of being biased politically. Back in the day, you couldn't have as much as a sign in your yard indicating who you would want to vote for. The FBI, the DOJ needs to hold themselves to that standard. And I would suggest we need to look at who can monitor that. DOJ cannot monitor themselves. We need to look at the bigger picture to keep everyone honest.
Final point. The left-wing media looked at the Durham report and basically said this was nothing. It was a non-event. Whereas to people on the other side, it was actually a huge event, and it was exposing and confirming what was already believed. So media is part of the problem here. It almost seems like the media is working in concert to help the left and the progressives.
Politicians do what politicians do, and the media sometimes plays along. What we want are the FBI agents who are out there trying to do the right thing, to be supported by leadership. And at the end of the day, it's all about protecting the American people. Let the FBI do its job. Keep politics out of it.
Well, the whistleblowers certainly were very brave to come forward, John. And, you know, as you could see, it's been difficult for them, especially not to be acknowledged, but the impact that it's had on their lives as well. We will see how this continues to play out, but we appreciate having you tonight. Thank you.